Hey all, what's going on today? Thanks for stopping in, danbarpens.com. I just wanted a real quick 2-minute little tip and trick. I'm putting together a pen. This one just happens to be the Faith, Hope, Love pen. Here's your kit. And you get your tubes, your brass tubes that you put in your acrylic to make the pen. While I was doing this, I just thought, hey, real quick, last video I didn't show this, so I wanted to just cover it real quick. Obviously, you size your tubes to your acrylic. In this specific pen, the short one is the top, the long one is the bottom. So we're going to size it up, make your hash mark, so that's going to be the top. Size it up, make your hash mark, leaving about a 1/16 of an inch on each end. This is your bottom. So now once you cut this, and then if you sand it down, or once you start turning it or whatever, when you put these together, especially if they have some kind of character on it, like the baseball one or the dragon one or whatever, you want to line them up for, front and back. I always put a little arrow. This is the top, this is the bottom, this is the top, this is the bottom, and then we're going to X this out, that's going to be junk. Then once we cut it, and then we cut it in half, you drill your hole, you put your blanks in it, you glue your brass tubes into your blanks, and then you start to turn it. What I like to do, and I haven't got this far yet, but I just thought about it, when you drill your hole, and you got your tube in it, to line it up so the flow of your acrylic matches. This doesn't always happen, but you put a little tick in the top, and then you put a little V tick in the bottom. So in the top you put a little tick, and in the bottom I put a little V tick. So then when it's all turned and it's all done, you can look in the tube and see exactly where this is the front. Then you line it up with the tick in the bottom, and this is the front. So when you put it together, your grains blend. Not all the time, sometimes they don't. But that's how you remember. Okay, we've poured our acrylics and we sized them out. We put in our top line and our bottom line, so we know which one's which. When we glue it together, you put your tubes in the right sides. If you wanted to match up your squirrels or a pattern, or decided what the front of your pen is before you've got it turned, whatever, I always put an arrow on it, so I always know which way it points, which one's top, which one's bottom. This is more important on a square one because I always round the corners off on a disc sander before I turn it. But once you turn that down, you're not going to see the arrow anymore, so now it's completely moot. You've lost which way was pointed down. You're always going to know what's top and bottom because of the size, obviously. But what I do is I take a magic marker or Sharpie, line my arrows up, and then I put a little tick mark in the top, and on the same side I put a little tick mark in the bottom, so it's like a little tick mark in the top and a little V tick mark in the bottom. This is your blank. So once it gets all turned down and you can't see that anymore, when you go to assemble it, you go, okay, this is where I started out top, this is where I started out bottom, and if they still line up, if you still like the way it looks, you're all good and you're set. So anyway, that's my trick on to tell which one's top, face up, which one's bottom, face up, when you're all done turning. Alrighty then, so now we've turned our blanks. We put the little tick in the top, a little tick right there, and then there's a little tick right here in the bottom. So this pen doesn't matter because the top, the center, and the bottoms are different size bushings, so it's obvious which is the top and which is the bottom. But if you want your grain to line up, or if you want to line your grain up, then you put the little ticks, little tick marks. That's where it was when we started. Our little arrow was on it, and then our grain is pretty much lined up. This one's kind of easy to see. Some of them can be fairly challenging, especially if your tubes are the same on the top and the bottom, like the dragon or the skull, and they could be flipped over, and then you get confused where your grain was. You could spend 5 minutes trying to figure out how you want your pen to lay. This one, the Faith, Hope, Love pen, has the words faith, hope, and love etched on the band. I don't know if you can really see that, so I guess you'll have to trust me. But so then it boils down, okay, where's the front of your pen going to be? What word do you want in the front? And the top of it sets over the clip and then screws in to this collar right here. So what I usually do is put the collar on and screw it all together. Oops, sorry, my bad, upside down. Holy cow, it's not that hard. Okay. So you screw it on, and then you can line up. How do you want your clip to line up with the etchings on the cap or whatever? So that's pretty much centered, pretty much squared. Then that's going to be the front. So it doesn't matter where you want the front, but if you line your pen up, if you line it up to the little tick marks, where do you want your front to be? Now your grain's lined up. That looks good. Is this going to be your front? So then that's where your collar's going to go in. You don't press it in with the cap on it though, because you don't want to mess up your pewter cap or anything. So you push it in a little bit. And that's where the front's going to be. Then you carefully unscrew the cap. Take that off, and then we press it in. Sorry, I didn't have this set up already. So we're going to press in our top collar. You can press it together on your lathe too if you don't have a pen press. We'll put this, press this in. I do recommend getting a pen press eventually once you have the space and the money for it, but you can do this just on your lathe. Okay, and then what do you want to be in front? You want your faith, hope, or love to be the first word? I think I'm going to go with probably love. And that presses into the top of the bottom half, because then your ink goes through it, and this screws on the top. Whoops. Screws on the top this way. No, this way. Shoot. Okay, and then when it twists, pop this on, when it twists, it retracts your ink. So where's your front? Here's your, now we've lost the little etch in the top. Here's the bottom. There's your grain. So this is center. This is center. Right here, this little line is center. So we'll put love over that line. Then we got to press in this collar. And then, because you don't really want to press on your threads if they go together too tight, you'll crush these threads. If you press on that on the metal part of your pen press, you can damage these threads and then it doesn't twist together right. So what I've done is made a little collar, just a little piece of acrylic with a hole drilled through it that fits over the collar, but it sits on top of the little ridge there, so it doesn't mess with my threads. Now let's find that grain. There's the grain. There's the word love. Just going to have to go in a little farther. I didn't want to press on those threads though. I don't recommend pressing on the threads. it's tight and it's centered. Alrighty. And then the bottom just goes on. And just pops in and put our thread protector back on here. And I was trying to look at it, make sure it's kind of straight, up and down, whatever. And our tip presses in. Cool. And there's our pen. So then when you put it together, because we've matched all of our pattern up, or swirls, or grain, or whatever you want to call it. There was our swirl right there. Anytime now. That looks pretty squared. Get our ink in there. I always test the mechanism a couple times. Alright, that works. Now we just line up your love and your top clip. And there's our grains. So we're all in line. And there you go. Faith, Hope, Love. All put together, top to bottom, front facing, from the little etch we put inside the tubes from the very beginning. Alright, cool. See you all later.